Bangkok is the capital and most populous city of Thailand. It is known in Thai as Krung Thep Maha Nakhon, or simply Krung Thep. The city occupies 1,568.7 square kilometers in the Chao Phraya River Delta in central Thailand, and has a population of over 8 million, or 12.6% of the country's population. Over 14 million people live within the surrounding Bangkok Metropolitan Region, making Bangkok an extreme primate city, significantly dwarfing Thailand's other urban centers in terms of importance. Bangkok traces its roots to a small trading post during the LIEU kingdom in the 15th century, which eventually grew in size and became the site of two capital cities, Thonburi in 1768 and Rattanakosin in 1782. Bangkok was at the heart of Siam's modernization during the later 19th century, as the country faced pressures from the West. The city was the center of Thailand's political struggles throughout the 20th century, as the country abolished absolute monarchy, adopted constitutional rule and underwent numerous coups and several uprisings. The city grew rapidly during the 1960s through the 1980s and now exerts a significant impact among Thailand's politics, economy, education, media and modern society. The Asian investment boom in the 1980s and 1990s led many multinational corporations to locate the regional headquarters in Bangkok. The city is now a major regional force in finance and business. It is an international hub for transport and healthcare, and has emerged as a regional center for the arts, fashion and entertainment. The city is well known for its vibrant street life and cultural landmarks, as well as its notorious red light districts. The historic Grand Palace and Buddhist temples, including Wat Arun and Wat Pho, stand in contrast with other tourist attractions such as the nightlife scenes of Khao San Road and Pat Pong. Bangkok is among the world's top tourist destinations. It is named the most visited city in MasterCard's Global Destination Cities Index, and was named World's Best City for 4 consecutive years by Travel Plus Leisure magazine. Bangkok's rapid growth amidst little urban planning and regulation has resulted in a haphazard cityscape and inadequate infrastructure systems. Limited roads, despite an extensive expressway network, together with substantial private car usage, have resulted in chronic and crippling traffic congestion. This in turn caused severe air pollution in the 1990s. The city has since turned to public transport in an attempt to solve this major problem. 4 rapid transit lines are now in operation, with more systems under construction are planned by the national government and the Bangkok Metropolitan Administration. History. The history of Bangkok dates at least back to the early 15th century, when it was a village on the west bank of the Chao Phraya River, under the rule of LIEU. Because of its strategic location near the mouth of the river, the town gradually increased in importance. Bangkok initially served as a customs outpost with forts on both sides of the river, and became the site of a siege in 1688 in which the French were expelled from Siam. After the fall of LIEU to the Burmese Empire in 1767, the newly declared King Taksin established his capital at the town, which became the base of the Thonburi Kingdom. In 1782, King Phutayot Chulalok succeeded Taksin, moved the capital to the eastern banks Rattanakosin Island, thus founding the Rattanakosin Kingdom. The city pillar was erected on the 21st of April, which is regarded as the date of foundation of the present city. Bangkok's economy gradually expanded through busy international trade, first with China, then with Western merchants returning in the early to mid-19th century. As the capital, Bangkok was the center of Siam's modernization as it faced pressure from Western powers in the late 19th century. The reigns of Kings Mongkut and Chulalongkorn saw the introduction of the steam engine, printing press, rail transport and utilities infrastructure in the city, as well as formal education and healthcare. Bangkok became the center stage for power struggles between the military and political elite as the country abolished absolute monarchy in 1932. It was subject to Japanese occupation and Allied bombing during World War II, but rapidly grew in the post-war period as a result of United States developmental aid and government-sponsored investment. Bangkok's role as an American military R&R destination boosted its tourism industry as well as firmly establishing it as a sex tourism destination. Disproportionate urban development led to increasing income inequalities and unprecedented migration from rural areas into Bangkok. Its population surged from 1.8 to 3 million in the 1960s. Following the United States' withdrawal from Vietnam in 1973, Japanese businesses took over as leaders in investment, and the expansion of export-oriented manufacturing led to growth of the financial market in Bangkok. Rapid growth of the city continued through the 1980s and early 1990s, until it was stalled by the 1997 Asian financial crisis. By then, many public and social issues had emerged, among them the strain on infrastructure reflected in the city's notorious traffic jams. Bangkok's role as the nation's political stage continues to be seen in strings of popular protests, from the student uprisings in 1973 and 1976, anti-military demonstrations in 1992, and successive anti-government demonstrations by the yellow shirt, red shirt, and light blue shirt movements from 2008 onwards. Administration of the city was first formalized by King Chulalongkorn in 1906, with the establishment of Monthon Krung Thep Maha Nakhon as a national subdivision. In 1915 the Monthon was split into several provinces, the administrative boundaries of which have since further changed. The city in its current form was created in 1972 with the formation of the Bangkok Metropolitan Administration, following the merger of Phra Nakhon Province on the eastern bank of the Chao Phraya and Thonburi Province on the west during the previous year. Name. The etymology of the name Bangkok is not absolutely clear. Bang is a Thai word meaning a village situated on a stream, and the name may have been derived from Bangkok meaning island, a reference to the area's landscape which was carved by rivers and canals. Another theory suggests that it is shortened from Bang Makok, Makok being the name of Aleocarpus hygrophilus, a plant bearing olive-like fruit. This is supported by the fact that Wat Arun, a historic temple in the area, used to be named Wat Makok. Officially, however, the town was known as Thonburi Mahasamuta Thonburi, according to our LIEU chronicles. Bangkok was likely a colloquial name, albeit one widely adopted by foreign visitors, whose continued use of the name finally resulted in it being officially adopted with the creation of the Bangkok Metropolitan Administration. When King Rama I established his new capital on the river's eastern bank, the city inherited LIEU's ceremonial name, of which there were many variants, including Krung Thep and Krung Thep Maha Nakhon. Edmund Roberts, visiting the city as envoy of the United States in 1833, noted that the city, since becoming capital, was known as Ciu, and this is the name used in international treaties of the period. Today, the city is known in Thai as Krung Thep Maha Nakhon, or simply as Krung Thep. Its full ceremonial name, which came into use during the reign of King Mongkut, reads as follows: Krung Thep Maha Nakhon Monratanakos and Mahinra Utaya Mahadilik Fopnop Faratrachathanai Peramudam Rachani Wet Mathasithanam Monfimanar Wetansthat, Sakathatia Witsanu Kamparasit. The name, composed of Pali and Sanskrit root words, translates as, City of Angels, Great City of Immortals, Magnificent City of the Nine Gems, Seat of the King, City of Royal Palaces, Home of Gods Incarnate, erected by Vishvakarma at Indra's behest. The name is listed in Guinness World Records as the world's longest place name. Thai school children are taught the full name, although few can explain its meaning as many of the words are archaic and known to few. Most Thais who recall the full name do so because of its use in a popular song, Krung Thep Maha Nakhon, by Sani Wasan, and will often recount it by singing it, much as an English speaker might sing the alphabet song to recite the alphabet. The entirety of the lyrics is just the name of the city repeated over and over. Government. The city of Bangkok is locally governed by the Bangkok Metropolitan Administration, although its boundaries are at the provincial level. Unlike the other 76 provinces, Bangkok is a special administrative area whose governor is directly elected to serve a 4-year term. The governor, together with 4 appointed deputies, form the executive body, who implement policies through the BMA civil service headed by the permanent secretary for the BMA. In separate elections, each district elects 1 or more city councillors, who form the Bangkok Metropolitan Council. The council is the BMA's legislative body, and has power over municipal ordinances and the city's budget. The current Bangkok governor is M.R. Sukampand Paribatran of the Democrat Party, who was re-elected for his 2nd term in 2013. Bangkok is subdivided into 50 districts, which are further subdivided into 169 sub-districts. Each district is managed by a district director appointed by the governor. District councils, elected to 4-year terms, serve as advisory bodies to the respective district directors. The BMA is divided into 16 departments, each overseeing different aspects of the administration's responsibilities. Most of these responsibilities concern the city's infrastructure and include city planning, building control, transportation, drainage, waste management and city beautification, as well as education, medical and rescue services. Many of these services are provided jointly with other agencies. The BMA has the authority to implement local ordinances, although civil law enforcement falls under the jurisdiction of the Metropolitan Police Bureau. The seal of the city shows Hindu god Indra riding in the clouds on Airavata, a divine white elephant known in Thai as Arun. In his hand, Indra holds his weapon, the Vajra. The seal is based on a painting done by Prince Naris. The tree symbol of Bangkok is Ficus benjamina. The official city slogan, adopted in 2012, reads, "As built by deities, the administrative center, dazzling palaces and temples, the capital of Thailand." As the capital of Thailand, Bangkok is the seat of all branches of the national government. The Government House, Parliament House and Supreme Administrative and Constitutional Courts are all located within the city. Bangkok is the site of the Grand Palace and Chitralada Villa, respectively the official and de facto residence of the king. Most government ministries also have headquarters and offices in the capital. Geography. The Bangkok city proper covers an area of 1,568.737 square kilometers, ranking 69th among the other 76 provinces of Thailand. Of this, about 700 square kilometers form the built-up urban area. It is ranked 73rd in the world in terms of land area by city mayors. The city's urban sprawl reaches into parts of the 6 other provinces it borders, namely, in clockwise order from northwest, Nonthaburi, Pathumthani, Char Chaengsao, Samut Prakan, Samut Sakhon and Nakhon Pathom. With the exception of Chachoengsao, these provinces, together with Bangkok, formed the Greater Bangkok Metropolitan Region. Topography: Bangkok is in the Chao Phraya River Delta in Thailand's Central Plains. The river meanders through the city in a southward direction, emptying into the Gulf of Thailand approximately 25 kilometers south of the city center. The area is flat and low-lying, with an average elevation of 1.5 meters above sea level. Most of the area was originally swampland, which was gradually drained and irrigated for agriculture via the construction of canals which took place throughout the 16th to 19th centuries. The course of the river as it flows through Bangkok has been modified by the construction of several shortcut canals. This intricate waterway network served as the primary mode of transport up until the late 19th century, when modern roads began to be built. Up until then, most people lived near or on the water, leading the city to be known during the 19th century as the Venice of the East. Many of these canals have since been filled in or paved over, but others still crisscross the city, serving as major drainage channels and transport routes. Most canals are now badly polluted, although the BMA has committed to the treatment and cleaning up of several canals. The geology of the Bangkok area is characterized by a top layer of soft marine clay known as Bangkok clay, averaging 15 meters in thickness, which overlies an aquifer system consisting of 8 known units. This feature has contributed to the effects of subsidence caused by extensive groundwater pumping. First recognized in the 1970s, subsidence soon became a critical issue, reaching a rate of 120 millimeters per year in 1981. Groundwater management and mitigation measures have since lessened the severity of the situation, although subsidence is still occurring at a rate of 10 to 30 millimeters per year, and parts of the city are now 1 meter below sea level. There are fears that the city may be submerged by 2030. Subsidence has resulted in increased flood risk, as Bangkok is already prone to flooding due to its low elevation and inadequate drainage infrastructure resulting from rapid urbanization. The city now relies on flood barriers and augmenting drainage from canals by pumping and building drain tunnels. But parts of Bangkok and its suburbs are still regularly affected by flooding. Heavy downpours resulting in urban runoff, overwhelming drainage systems, and runoff discharge from upstream areas are major triggering factors. Severe flooding affecting much of the city occurred recently in 1995 and 2011. In the latter, most of Bangkok's northern, eastern and western districts became inundated in some places for over 2 months. Coastal erosion is also an issue in the Gulf coastal area, a small length of which lies within Bangkok's Bangkok district. Global warming poses further serious risks, and a study by the OECD has estimated that 5.138 million people in Bangkok may be exposed to coastal flooding by 2070, the 7th highest among the world's port cities. There are no mountains in Bangkok, the closest mountain range being the Kaew Massif, located about 40 kilometers southeast of the city. Phu Khao Thong, the only hill in the metropolitan area, originated in a very large chedi that King Rama III decided to build at Wat Saket. The chedi collapsed during construction because the soft soil of Bangkok could not support the weight. Over the next few decades, the abandoned mud and brick structure acquired the shape of a natural hill and became overgrown with weeds. The locals called it Phu Khao, as if it was a natural feature. In the 1940s, surrounding concrete walls were added to stop the hill from eroding. Climate. Like most of Thailand, Bangkok has a tropical savanna climate under the Köppen climate classification and is under the influence of the South Asian monsoon system. It experiences 3 seasons, hot, rainy and cool, although temperatures are fairly hot year-round, ranging from an average low of 22.0 degrees Celsius in December to an average high of 35.4 degrees Celsius in April. The rainy season begins with the arrival of the southwest monsoon around mid-May. September is the wettest month, with an average rainfall of 334.3 millimeters. The rainy season lasts until October, when the dry and cool northeast monsoon takes over until February. The hot season is generally dry, but also sees occasional summer storms. The surface magnitude of Bangkok's urban heat island has been measured at 2.5 degrees Celsius during the day and 8.0 degrees Celsius at night. The highest recorded temperature of Bangkok metropolis was 40.0 degrees Celsius in April 1979, and the lowest recorded temperature was 9.9 degrees Celsius in January 1955. Districts. Bangkok's 50 districts serve as administrative subdivisions under the authority of the BMA. 35 of these districts lie to the east of the Chao Phraya, while 15 are on the western bank, known as the Thonburi side of the city. The 50 districts are arranged by district code. The BMA uses several schemes to organize the districts into groups for administrative and general planning purposes. The scheme adopted in 2004 uses 12 characteristic groups, shown in the map above: Ratanakosin cluster, historic conservation, administrative, traditional retail, and cultural tourism areas; Lumpini cluster, central business, commercial and tourism areas; Vibhavadi cluster, employment, retail and service, and high-density residential areas; Chao Phraya cluster, emerging economic areas; Thonburi cluster, historic and cultural conservation and tourism areas; Taksan cluster, emerging employment and high-density residential areas; Phra Nakhon Nuea cluster, residential areas, transition zone for potential city expansion; Burafa cluster, residential areas, transition zone for potential city expansion; Suwin Thawang cluster, agriculture and residential areas; Sinakaran cluster, suburban community center areas; Mathasawat cluster, agriculture and residential areas; Sanam Chai cluster, agriculture, industrial, residential, and ecological tourism areas. Cityscape. Bangkok's district areas often do not accurately represent the functional divisions of its neighborhoods or actual land uses. Although urban planning policies date back to the commission of the Litchfield Plan in 1960, which set out strategies for land use, transportation and general infrastructure improvements, actual zoning regulations were not fully implemented until 1992. As a result, the city grew organically throughout the period of its rapid expansion, both horizontally as urban developments extended along newly built roads, and vertically, with increasing numbers of high-rises and skyscrapers being built in several commercial areas. The city has grown from its original center along the river into a sprawling metropolis surrounded by swaths of suburban residential development, extending north and south into neighboring provinces. The highly populated and growing cities of Nonthaburi, Pat Kret, Rangsit and Samut Prakan are effectively now suburbs of Bangkok. Nevertheless, large agricultural areas remain within the city proper, in its eastern and western fringes. Land use in the city consists of 23% residential use, 24% agriculture, and 30% used for commerce, industry and by the government. The BMA's City Planning Department is responsible for planning and shaping further development. It has published master plan updates in 1999 and 2006, and a third revision is undergoing public hearings in 2012. Bangkok's historic centre remains the Ratanakosin Island in Phra Nakhon district. It is the site of the Grand Palace and the city pillar shrine, primary landmarks of the city's foundation, as well as many important Buddhist temples. Phra Nakhon, along with the neighbouring Pomprap Satruphai and Samphanthawong districts, formed what was the city proper in the later 19th century. Many traditional neighborhoods and markets are located here, including the Chinese settlement of Samphang. The city was expanded toward Dusit district in the early 19th century, following King Chulalongkorn's relocation of the royal household to the new Dusit Palace. The buildings of the palace, including the neoclassical Ananta Samakhom throne hall, as well as the Royal Plaza and Ratchadaman Avenue which leads to it from the Grand Palace, reflect the heavy influence of European architecture at the time. Major government offices line the avenue, as does the Democracy Monument. The area is the site of the country's seats of power as well as the city's most popular tourist landmarks. In contrast with the low-rise historic areas, the business district on Silom and Sathon roads in Bang Rak and Sathon districts teems with skyscrapers. It is the site of many of the country's major corporate headquarters but also of some of the city's infamous red light districts. The Siam and Ratchaprasong areas in Pathum are home to some of the largest shopping malls in Southeast Asia. Numerous retail outlets and hotels also stretch along Sukhumvit Road leading southeast through Watan and Klong Toi districts. More office towers line the streets branching off Sukhumvit, especially ASOK Montri, while upmarket housing span many of its SOIs. Although Bangkok does not have a clear geographical center, downtown is generally considered to be the Siam area, which contains many of the bigger malls and commercial areas in the city, as well as Siam Station, the only transfer point between the city's two elevated train lines. The Victory Monument in Ratchathawee district is among its most important road junctions, serving over 100 bus lines as well as an elevated train station. For the monument, the Honayothin and Ratchathawee Dindang roads respectively run northward and eastward, linking to major residential areas. Most high-density development is located within the 113 square kilometer area encircled by the Ratchada Afasek inner ring road. Ratchada Afasek is lined with businesses and retail outlets, and office buildings also concentrate around Ratchayothin intersection in Chatuchak district to the north. Farther from the city center, most areas are primarily mid- to low-density residential. The Thonburi side of the city is less developed, with fewer high-rises. With the exception of a few secondary urban centers, Thonburi, as well as the outlying eastern districts, consist mostly of residential and rural areas, while most of Bangkok's streets are fronted by vernacular shop houses. The largely unrestricted building frenzy of the 1980s has transformed the city into an urban jungle of skyscrapers and high-rises exhibiting contrasting and clashing styles. There are 117 skyscrapers over 100 meters tall in the city, with 37 under construction as of 2012. Bangkok was ranked as the world's 23rd tallest city in 2011. On the other hand, as a result of economic disparity, many slums have emerged in the city. In 2000 there were over 1 million people living in about 800 slum settlements. A large number of slums are concentrated near the Bangkok port in Klong Toi district. Parks and green zones. Bangkok has several parks, although these amount to a per capita total park area of only 1.82 square meters meters in the city proper. Total green space for the entire city is moderate, at 11.8 square meters per person. However, in the more densely built-up areas of the city, these numbers are as low as 1.73 and 0.72 square meters per person. More recent numbers claim that there is only 3.3 square meters of green space per person, compared to an average of 39 square meters in other cities across Asia. Bangkokians thus have 10 times less green space than is standard in the region's urban areas. Green belt areas include about 700 square kilometers of rice paddies and orchards in the eastern and western edges of the city proper. Although the primary purpose is to serve as flood detention basins rather than to limit urban expansion, Bang Kachao, a 20 square kilometer conservation area in an oxbow of the Chao Phraya, lies just across the southern riverbank districts, in Samut Prakan province. A master development plan has been proposed to increase total park area to 4 square meters per person. Bangkok's largest parks include the centrally located Lumphinie Park near the Silom Sathon business district with an area of 57.6 hectares, the 80-hectare Suan Luang Ramaryx in the east of the city, and the Chatuchak Queen Sirika Dwarfing Park complex in northern Bangkok, which has a combined area of 92 hectares.